Hola, peoples. Okay, so tonight we're gonna have some fun. Tonight is a topic that was inspired by a certain partial ginger, full-on Piscean, Mr. Nimbus River. Um, but before we get into tonight's topic, I just want to say we have the questions and answers thingy up. So if you have anything you want to ask, if you want to throw in your 2 cents, please do. We miss interaction. We miss, talking with y'all. So feel free to express yourselves. And Mr. River, would you like to introduce the topic?
Sure. Um, so tonight we're calling this show Sympathy for the Devil, and it is all about sympathetic magics. So, it's one of those things that to a lot of people it's like common sense, and then to others, it's kind of a topic that needs to be discussed because we're all on different levels and all on different personal shit that sometimes we don't want to talk about our issues and things that we have trouble with, and sympathetic magic may be one of yours, or it could just be something that you can learn more about and enjoy putting your 2 cents in, and that's why we got the question and answer, and we're going to be doing that a lot more because we love that interaction. So without further ado, going into sympathetic magics. Sympathetic magic it's a category of low magic. And it is the quintessential, very raw, very common sense, basic witchcraft. It it is, it involves a lot of psychic energy. It involves a lot of physical representation and what you can do with the physical representation and how it affects the actual um, target, if you will, target, goal, whatever, of the representation. So, anyways, I'm probably rambling, so I'm going to pass it off to Melissa so she can finish this introduction and how she describes sympathetic magic before we go into actually how you do it.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they think of sympathetic magic, they automatically think like voodoo dolls and casting on a person. And it doesn't. Your object does not have to be a person. Obviously, it can be anything. It can be your business. It can be your job. It can be whatever that you're using as a focal point to change the influence of in that situation. So I find it really interesting, and I know that this has been a thing for a long time, but here lately, especially on Facebook, you see it a lot. I don't know if y'all watch or follow a lot of like eat healthy pages or anything like that, but a really interesting form of sympathetic magic that has now become a very mainstream thing is eating foods that look like parts of your body to improve that part of your body. Like they say walnuts, help your brain. Turns out, oh, guess what? There actually are, vitamins in walnuts that increase your brain activity. Eat tomatoes to help your heart. Tomatoes have 4 chambers like your heart. They're red, and Campbell's, when Campbell's Soup Company found that little bit of information and actually had it proven, they jumped on that bandwagon super fast, and had all these tomato soup commercials. Oh, they help your heart, And it's interesting to me that is now a very mainstream thing, and I don't think people realize that is like the most perfect, simple representation of sympathetic magic. Is eating walnuts to improve your brain activity. Because you automatically associate, oh, this looks like my brain, so therefore it helps. Your whole body is convinced that eating that is going to help your brain. And
Right.
it is.
Right. And I like that the title is Sympathy for the devil, because I think that all witches, when you first come to your practice and when you start to discover that this is who you are, you're taught. I mean, I was taught, I know many were taught when they were younger by unseen forces and spirits and such, but you're taught the, sympathetic magic. Like you see things through a different perspective when you are a witch and when you're developing. And so when like outside, when you're a child, you're outside and you're playing and you see like twigs and you get this inspiration, and you're told that this twig, this type of twig, this shape, this item can be utilized for something specific. And so when you listen to that, that's a sympathetic magic at its core, and it connects when you. And again, as a child, if you felt that and experienced that, the feeling. When you connect with something, that feeling, that essence, and that's what ignites your magic. That's what makes it true. You can't just light up a candle and think that's your magic. No, you have to have that connection. And if you're going to use like a walnut in to mess with the mind, you can't just think, oh, it's a walnut, it's aligned with the mind, and boom, crush it and fuck with someone's mind. No, you have to have that connection and that understanding, and that you have to channel that feeling and create it. But I think that this is something that we naturally learn.
Well, yeah, I think wish on a dandelion, you know what I mean? Like you blow. My husband's walking through. Sorry, y'all.
Your husband is funny.
When you blow on a dandelion to make a wish as a kid, you totally believe that. Every atom in your body believes that if I blow every little sprig of this dandelion off, that my wish is going to come true. I mean, you don't just think it, you believe it, as a child. Whenever you...
Well, you do, and speaking of dandelion, it's funny that you say that. It's because why do we think that, spreading those manifestations, those seeds out, are going to somehow come true? Well, that's what those little puffballs are. You spread those, and then they take root, they sprout, and they manifest into a dandelion plant. So sympathetically, to manifest an item, that makes total sense, because what you're doing is you're putting your energy out there for 1,000 little seeds to manifest into an actual growing plant.
And I think that's that's the perfect expression, because, and this also teaches you and teaches us what it truly is. That is something that we have all, a lot of people, I don't know, I'm not going to generalize, but I am at the same time, but we have all grown up experiencing that, here at least, if dandelion, whatever, is meant for wishes, and if you blow it out and blah, 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 we are trained. There's something that we just automatically know that this is what it is, and you're taught as well, even for mundanes, they're taught that as well, because it's fun and it's one of those little things. And just like birthday candles, you make a wish. Those are things, and as a kid, you remember when you really wanted something and you blew out the candles, and we're talking about a lot of blowing today. So I don't know where that's going to lead, but anyways, so yeah, so you have, again, and this is where you have all that stuff that's backed up, like the birthday wish and the dandelion, and that has history, it has psychic energy, it has something, it's been said for so long that it becomes more powerful every time you pass it down, and every time you share that with someone else, and so it becomes rooted even more in the physical world. So when someone connects with that that spiritual essence, when someone connects with that aspect and that magic, and they cast for it, it becomes easier to create because it is backed by so many other people believing in it.
Right.
And it's that belief and that emotion that connects, the witch with the practical application with the results.
Well, it's funny you said, we're talking about blowing a lot, but when you think about it, the first thing you do in this world is take a breath of life. That is, the breath of life. A breath of life is extremely important, I believe, in any kind of real sympathetic magic, especially when you're working with an object that is not the real object, but you're bringing the real object to life in a smaller version.
Mm.
Most of us sympathetic magic, any mojo bag I make, any voodoo doll, every spell that I make where I'm creating a smaller version of something I want to influence on a bigger scale, I blow a breath of life into it. So you think we're taught that at a very young age, that your breath is a key ingredient, in bringing something to life, to manifesting a wish, to bringing what you want into your life.
I can't even share what, just maybe later. That's funny.
Well, it's funny. You both mentioned psychic energy. One with the blowing something to life. Creating it, making a smaller version of what you wish to influence. Well, that Melissa speaks of creating it, making it connected, breathing life into it, making it come to life, and then Michael talks about this, channeling that psychic energy, that very raw, very basic instinct that we have, and that's the key with sympathetic magic, is psychic energy. We were talking about it before the show, is that if you're working sympathetic magic and it's not working for you, it's probably because you're missing that key element, and that is the psychic connection that takes an essence from a object, place, idea, person, and blowing that life, blowing that essence in a way, and I'm using the term binding here, and I'm not using it as the magical practice of binding, but binding an essence to another piece of what you wish to influence.
Right.
It's just like when, we can talk about candles. I don't want to mention poppets just because a lot of people do think voodoo doll when you think of sympathetic magic.
Right.
And why does that work? It works because you're in a poppet version. A lot of times they are people that you wish to influence. So you're taking a poppet and you're making a small version of someone that you want to influence.
Or yourself.
Why does it work? Or yourself, exactly. And I use poppets on myself. I use poppets on my wife. I use a lot of it because it's so raw, it's so basic. And what I do is first I take a little piece, I connect with that person psychically, and I go to them, and I pull a little piece of them back to me psychically, and I take that little piece and I put it in the object that I wish for it to represent. Then in a poppet's case, some people blow, some people smoke. The traditional witches used to find holy stones, and they would be like big monoliths, and they would birth them to life by passing from one area of the stone, passing it through the hole, symbolizing a sympathetic birth canal, taking something that's not alive and connected only to the witch, just like a mother is connected only with their child, and it's a part of her body until it is born and takes its first breath of life, and then it is not just a part of that mother, it's its own energy, it's its own person, and you would pass it through there, and what was just a part of the witch has been birthed and is now a part of this world. And it is that psychic energy and that breath of life that you pass into a representation that causes it to be so easily influenced by our magic.
Right. That was just powerful. And I have Miss Gaia over here looking at me like saying yes, yes. And why are we are always talking about the womb? We are always talking about the sacred of the JJ. I'm just saying. It's always like popping up in here. But, and not to, well, yeah, we're going to travel back a second. What I was going to express as well is like why it's so important to connect with the inner child is because if you think about it, when we're younger, we have all of what we need to create potent sympathetic magic, and we feel it on a whole different level. And that's because, obviously, before we enter the physical, before we get shot out through that canal, that tunnel, we are pure psychic energy. We are spirit. Before we enter the physical body, we are fluid. And so we have the understanding of the psychic connection. We have the understanding of how energy works. And as as we get older, we start to forget stuff. So that's why when we are younger and we connect with our birthday candles, when we connect with things like in nature, when we're having fun and we're creating things in our mind, we're being inspired. That's why the witch who does this as a young child, that's why things change. That's why things might move and when nothing's moving it but you. So that's why things like that happen, is because we are still in that flow. As we get older, we tend to lose that until we remember it again. And that's something important to contemplate when you're trying to figure out how sympathetic magic works. And it does not have to be complex. It's not complex at all. But when you consider what was just said, it puts things into a new light, and you remember those feelings. And that's again why I'm saying it's so important to have a really good relationship with the inner child, because the inner child helps you to remember those things. It helps you to remember to be adventurous and to be in spirit, to have fun and to connect on a psychic level. Because when you're connecting with the inner child, you are connecting with the psychic you, and that is vital, was already expressed, to the results of the sympathetic practice.
Right. And to me, honestly, I expressed this to the guys earlier before you came on. All magic should be sympathetic magic. You have to connect to whatever energy you're pulling into, or drawing upon to cast a spell. You have to connect to whatever it is you're trying to influence change upon. So, and that is what sympathetic magic is that connection. And understand, even when you do like a basic candle spell, if you are putting someone's name on that candle spell, or whatever, like prosperity, money symbols, whatever sigils you're putting on that is all sympathetic magic. That's all sympathetic. I mean, to me, this can be such a hugely broad term. So when you understand that that is something you have to connect with on a very psychic level, then you will find that your whole perception of magic and spell work will change dramatically if you haven't already made that connection.
Right, and I think, also what needs to be expressed, and it's not saying one is better than the other, you're doing it wrong at all, not at all, but it should be expressed as sympathetic magic, but it's not if you're not connecting. It's just very, you're going through the motions if you're not actually connecting. And Amy says, in chaos magic, activating a sigil, you practice sympathetic magic, you feel the emotion you need for the spell, then you project that onto the sigil and see it as alive. As the energy culminates, it is released as you do something to the paper. So that is in a sense true, but you also have to take it to a different level. It's not just seeing it as alive, it's feeling it and knowing it and awakening it. You can, you have that emotion, but you need to make sure you feel it on all levels. And in a sense, this is kind of where, how we talk about, the elements, and we only utilize one element or two elements, not always all elements, but this is where it's important, where you understand all elements, so you kind of feel and filter through all of those expressions. And so you have that earth, you have that very grounding in that physical realm, and then you have the spirit, you have fire, you have water, you have all of those. So once you channel that and once you embody that and you give life to that practice and you activate your work through those filters, that's what it's about. That's that connection.
Right, exactly. I mean, you have to, and that's why I love what you said, Michael, about the inner child, because as a child, it was so easy for us to create these dream worlds that were so intricate, and like we were there.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the mountain range that we were trying to climb or whatever. It was right there. It was no longer a couch. It was now a mountain.
Right.
And we could see it, and we could feel the cold air, and we believed every little iota of that imaginary world that we would create. And that is exactly what you have to do when casting a spell. You can't just think, I really want this to work, I hope this works. You have to see it in its entirety, watch it move, where it goes, watching it unfold, having it actually happen. You have to live that.
Well, exactly. And if you think about it, like I've seen, I've heard battles between parent and child where the parent is trying to tell the child that that's not what they're seeing, doesn't exist. Yeah, it is. It's there. It's alive. It's there. No, that's not real. It can't be real. And so, but the child still believes it's real because the child, as children, we're super fucking stubborn, and we know what we see. So when we see something, seeing is believing. And as a child, you believe because you see it. As adults, as people get older, they forget, and so if they're forgetting, they don't see it. The child's seen it. So that's why it's super important to connect with that energy, and the child knows like 100% as fact that this is true. And that's kind of where we need to remember when it comes to our magic, when it comes to sympathetic magic. And that's what sympathetic magic teaches us, it should teach us, is that it's simple. It's common sense witchery. And it's about getting back to our core and our foundation and feeling it and expressing it. That's like the whole... That's the way it should be. Like, as witch, you experience something and you bring it to life. And I know this might be very basic and common sense, but I've come across a lot of people who practice and they don't get this, and it's cool. Maybe they just weren't taught it. But this is something that's very foundational, and we need to make sure we express more, because you just feel good when you connect and you create. You feel a part of it because you become a part of that which you are creating. It's not just something that's separate from yourself. It becomes you and you become it, and that's when you're even more invested, because when this is like an extension of you, when it's so personal and you don't want to release it, but it's so personal that you want to release at the same time, because you want to share that and you want to create that for yourself. In order for you to create something so big, you have to get it out there. You trust that process, you connect with it, and it's alive. And that's why it's important for everyone to understand the connection, the psychic level of investment in this. And I totally just rambled, and I'm drinking water now.
No, you're totally right, and I'm with Melissa that that was just. It was so simple what you said, but it had such a big impact on connecting with that inner child, because we somehow lose that. Mundanes lose it faster than witches do, because most of us that started practicing at an early age, we never lost it. So it comes very basic things. We didn't have to reteach ourselves this, and that's something that a lot of older people have to reteach themselves. And it's some people get frustrated with children because they don't see that world. And if you just let yourself connect with what that child is connecting with, you will see what they see in such a beautiful way, and it's amazing. And that inner child is in every witch, and you're harnessing that inner child, and you're making it, making it just as real as it was when you were 5 years old. And Melissa said something interesting. We're not casting something is not just wishing for it, and it's not. We're not praying for it. A lot of people say that prayers are similar. A witch's spell is a Christian's prayer. That's not true. We don't pray for it. We do, if we're religious, we do pray, but that has nothing to do with casting. We're not wishing for it. We're not asking for it. We're taking it, and we're making it. And it's funny. I quote a lot of shit from the movies, especially like witch-related movies. Halloween Town. Has anyone ever,
Yes, I love that
old Disney movie?
I love that movie. Yeah.
Literally my favorite Disney movie on the channel. Of course I have others that weren't on the channel, but like Disney Channel movie. She's talking to Aggie is talking to her granddaughter Marnie, and she says, "Well, how do you make the broom fly?" And she says, "Magic is really very simple. You want something, and then you let yourself have it."
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
There's no that is the perfect example of how magic works, because you're wanting something, you have that desire for it, and then you are letting yourself have it. You're not stopping yourself from getting it. You're not making an excuse. You are creating it. You're seeing it. You're doing it. You're pulling it to you. You're letting yourself have it, no matter what that is. Right. Be it a sympathetic magic with a sigil, sympathetic magic with words written on a candle, physical representations of things with sympathetic magic. It's that connection, and it's that pulling it to you. It's super new agey of me, but I'm gonna talk about it. The secret mundanes are so stumped at why that works.
Right.
Why does it work? Because you're not making excuses on why it can't.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing it, and you're manifesting it in your own life. And the secret is kind of basic in a weird, misconstrued way. It's casting. It's the Muggles are casting things into their life because they're seeing it and they're not backing down from it.
Well, right.
And that's sympathetic magic. That's what it is.
Yeah, and my aunt, who's like uber Christian, like she's fucking Christian, like crazy ass Christian. Did I mention she's Christian? Like, ooh, nuts. But she taught me that see it, believe it, receive it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what.
Freeze. For a second there, I was like, did I fucking freeze?
You did just a little bit.
Okay, so see it, believe it, receive it, and she taught me that, and that's her Christian views as to how to create and how to manifest, and so that is something that it's there for everyone really on how to create for yourself and how to utilize sympathetic magic, because that's where a lot of people use the Bible for such things, and the Bible is powerful for such things. It can be. But as witches, we just take it above and beyond, and because we are a part of that flow, because Christians work through limitation. They work through the understanding and belief that their God is providing for them, and so their God will be the one to judge whether you are able to receive it. If you do not receive it, it's because their God deemed them unworthy. The witch is entirely different. The witch understands that when you are in the flow, when you are able to create for yourself, spirit, your deity, whatever, they want you to have whatever it is that you desire, but you must take it. You must create it for yourself. They'll assist you, but they are not going to do it for you.
Right.
And again, that's also where I talk a lot about beliefs. That's where beliefs come into play, because if you come from a very heavy Christian background and you have like all this negative, programming that's in your head that you need to get rid of, and you're taught that you're not worthy, you're taught that, we're all taught certain things, and that we hold into our experience, and if you have those, you need to get rid of them, because as a witch, you have to be in full alignment, and that hinders your practice. So if something doesn't manifest correctly, or if it doesn't manifest as fast or as intense, that's something that you should pay attention to. But sympathetic magic it's really easy. It's common sense, and that's kind of how what I like to call MacGyver witchcraft. That's kind of how I started just utilizing that, because everything is energy. Everything has a power source, and everything. There was a time when I was younger where I decided that I never want to feel powerless ever again. I don't ever want to feel like I cannot create, that I cannot cast, that I cannot protect myself. I don't need books, tools, whatever. I need to make sure that the witch, has the power to do whatever I can and whatever I need to at any given moment. And so that means wherever I am, I need to look at everything as magic, everything as witchcraft. And so anything around me, I can tie and utilize to cast. And that is why I am able to express a lot of the stuff that I do, because I made sure to educate myself. And that's how I think a lot of witches should do, because if you see a key around, and you automatically think, what does a key do? A key has the power to unlock things. A key has the power to lock things. And so, as a witch, we utilize that, that information on a whole different level. And it's just, it's super simple. You see a crystal, penis crystal. You could utilize that in fertility, or you can utilize it to make someone impotent. There's just so many different ways to see things, and that's why, you have bread in your cupboard. What can bread be used for? You have to connect with these things, everything. And when you're connecting with stuff, but you have to see through the witch's eye. And if you're a witch and you live your craft, you're always seeing through that filter. Because that's who you are, but you need to start seeing it more so, and see how to apply that, the everyday items in your craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Wow.
You give me great ideas every time you ramble.
Whenever, to me, a lot of times, and I know we've already done a show on this, but this relates so well, a lot of times people make magic out to be so much more complex than it really needs to be. You sit there and you look, and here not so long ago, I had a friend ask me, she's like, okay, when you use candle magic, she's like, do colors represent certain things? And I'm like, yes and no. I mean, yes, you will find a color chart, a very generic color chart for candle magic. And I actually found one that I really, really liked, but it went in a lot more detail and I agreed with more than I do others. Oops. But I said, also, you have to realize that if you don't connect what that color chart's saying about that color, if you don't agree with it, then it's not going to work for you. You have to have your own personal connection. You have to have your own understanding about that color and what you feel like it means to you.
Right. Well, and different cultures view different colors in a different way.
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Another thing, like, and you have to take into consideration, like, the mundane applications as well, because who doesn't love coffee? Fuck this.
Right.
You know, and coffee is magic. It's just wonderful. I love coffee. So if you consider, you know, coffee, what does it do? It's a stimulant, but it can also be a diuretic. Coffee wakes people up. Too much coffee can make you fucking crazy. I don't know if any of you ever watched Mad TV, but the coffee dude, crazy.
Yeah.
And if you take that information and then you apply it to magic, so I can utilize coffee and workings to stimulate creative centers. You can use it to bring stimulation to anything. If you overdo it, you can flush someone's system out. There's just so many different, you know, you have to start thinking like that, and that's like the fun. That is so fun. It's fun when you start just looking at different things and you're like, okay, what's that for? Okay, I can use that in my magic for this.
Right. But you also have to believe it. Like, you can't take something. That's, to me, why spells in books that people try to utilize for themselves very rarely work.
Right.
Where they don't change it, they just take it right out of the book. Because if you aren't connecting with it on a very soul level, then it's not going to work. So don't think, oh, well, I'm going to try using coffee, like Michael said, as a to energize my creative, centers whenever you can drink a cup of coffee and go to bed.
Right, exactly.
If you don't have the belief that coffee, and truly believe that coffee does rejuvenate you and gives you energy, that it's not going to work for you. So you have to make sure that whatever you're using resonates with you. I don't give a shit what anybody else says. It has to resonate with you.
That's so true. And beliefs can also get you in trouble with sympathetic magic. And I'll give you a little story of little Hunter and little Nimbus casting a hex on his sister. So, my sister, if any of you have siblings, you know that a lot of times you just don't get along with them. Especially growing up, living in the same house, doing everything together. I have one sister, and that's it, the one sibling, and we fought like cats and dogs. So, me being the little witch that I was like, I'm going to get her ass. So, she was little miss, prissy, pretty, she was so vain, which I'm vain too, but that didn't come until later.
Interesting.
But I was like, that's okay. She thinks she's so hot shit. I'm going to, and at the time, it's so sad, the worst thing that I could possibly muster up for my sister, which, looking back on it, there's tons of shit I could have done. I was like, I'm going to give her a breakout. I'm going to fucking hex her with some acne. So I did a very simple earth spell where I drew her in the sand. And I drew her with the, non-broke out face. And then I gave her face acne. And all this was done in the earth. And I was big, when I was younger, I did a lot of earth magic, and I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was just harnessing the element that I was comfortable with, and earth magic just seemed, when I was little, the most basic thing that I could do. So I did the sympathetic magic. She I believed was in a little piece of her in this sand was going to give her a breakout. Well, to cause it to manifest, my version of manifesting was blowing the sand, getting down close to the earth and blowing it to, in her direction, because, I was like, I'm going to give it to you. Well, I do this, and the dust comes back on my face. And I went, oh, and this is what I do. I go, oh no, her acne just got on my face. So we both got breakouts. my belief that her acne was on my face gave me the same thing that I was giving to her.
That is
And so beliefs are so strong that they can actually bite you in your ass. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, spells can backfire, quote unquote. Well, that's why. Because you believe that they can, and you see sympathetically in your mind, you see the path that it's going to take, and then you say, oh shit, what if it comes back and it does this to me? And that's your problem. You're manifesting that shit into reality, and it's working.
You know,
so
especially since people tend to worry about that.
Yeah, and that worry and that belief is why it does it. It's very strong to be such simple magic. You know, and that was always a lesson for me as I grew in my craft. That simple little spell, that simple little hex that I gave my sister, and it, you know, affecting me, just proved right there in that moment. I always remember that. As simple as the magic can be, our stupid little human heads can find a way to fuck it up and make it way more complex than it needs to be, and find a way for it to work negatively toward us. And anytime I think about it, anytime I cast, that spell comes to my mind. And so beliefs are powerful.
They are.
Especially in sympathetic magic.
That's funny. And if you think about it, think of your beliefs as spells that you cast, and your beliefs are continuous. And so that spell is being cast continuously, and it's being fueled. So if you think about it that way, then you can see and understand how important it is to be in alignment with yourself and what you create, and how you believe and perceive your world.
Right. Like, if you believe that you have to have a circle to cast a circle in order for your magic to work, then you have really pigeonholed yourself in the fact that that's what you're going to have to do every single time. You know, and it's sort of interesting to me that a lot of your books about witchcraft do not, discuss that aspect. You know, they're so busy telling you how to do things, they don't really think about the fact that anything like that, any kind of restrictions that you decide to put on your magic, is something that's going to be hard to shake once you really get in the habit of it. So my advice always is to restrict yourself as little as possible. You know, don't hold fast to beliefs that could be hurting your magic instead of helping them. You know, the whole, oh, I have to forget the spell after I do it. Well, come on, y'all. You have to know that's, kind of crap, because authors wouldn't include spells in their books if they really and truly believe that.
Right.
That's a written down spell. You know?
Keep using the same
all those beliefs are so limiting.
If you keep using the same
and it just makes no sense. I still don't get the whole circle casting thing. Do you? Whatever. All I'm saying is, why would I draw a force field around myself if I wanted to take shit and put it out there? It just makes no sense. It's the dumbest thing, I swear. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just dumb. Like, the same person who's teaching you that you have to forget the spell is putting in their book or their training or their blog post that spell that has worked for them countless times. But if this spell worked for you countless times, weren't you supposed to forget it? And by writing about it, you didn't forget it. Like, you remembered it, and you remembered it enough to write it down, and you utilized it. So, in essence, you never forgot it.
Right.
You didn't comprehend that.
And let's not forget the very weird rule of don't tell anybody about it. If you cast a spell, keep it secret and keep it yours. Don't tell anybody about it. Meanwhile, I'm going to write this grimoire that I want you to buy for $19.99.
Right.
Thank you for your purchase.
Right.
But I'm
Well,
not telling you anything.
I read an article about
I'm
that.
not telling you anything.
My perception, and this all aligns with sympathetic magic because we're talking about the topic of magic and belief and feeling it. But I don't think you should express the craft that you do unless you fully trust yourself, and more so, unless you fully trust the intentions of other people. Because if you're not like well rooted in your craft and strong in what you put out, and even if you are, the beliefs and the perceptions and what other people believe about what you're doing, that has the ability to interfere and latch on to what you're doing. So if you want something good for yourself, you tell someone and they're jealous and they don't want you to have something. Anger is power. Anger has a very powerful influence. So their anger, jealousy, so that is potent. That has the ability to not necessarily prevent you from getting results, but more so it has the ability to put blocks and obstacles in the path of your casting. So,
right. I believe that has a lot more power if you really care about what other people think. I mean, I think it still does have power if you don't, but I think if you're one of those people that really care about what other people think of you, then you really are going to fuck yourself.
Right.
Tell other people.
I just go back to the if you won't let your child or your pet stay with that person, don't tell them about your spell, because you have to there's a level of trust with it, because I do believe that there's a power in letting people that you trust know about your workings, because if they're ones that are trusting, they can feed it. But if you are friends with a witch that is secretly jealous of you, because you don't know your relationship truly, you don't pay attention, you don't see the things, you're not psychically, putting up those precautions to know someone's true intentions. If a witch that I didn't like went around and told me, oh yeah, I'm going to cast a spell for money, and this is what I did, step by step. Guess what I'm going to do if I don't like you? And I'm feeling very rude. I'm going to go, okay, let me find that spell in progress, and let me shut that son of a bitch down.
Right.
And it's easy to do. So it's harder for you to tell muggles about it because of their lack of belief. Can affect it, but it's even trickier to tell a witch about it, because depending on the witch, it can help you and it can harm your working drastically.
Right.
So just be very discerning.
And that's why there's about 1, 2, 3, like 4 to 5 individuals that I fully share what I do. I don't care. Like, I know that when I express to them what I cast, what I do, they're like, oh shit, someone's gonna get fucked up, or oh shit, listen. They have that belief in, they've seen the results, and they have that belief in me and my determination and whatever, my craft, that they know it's gonna happen. One way or the other, it's gonna happen. And so that's why I have a select few that I trust to share that with. Yes, and it's just so important to be aware of those things. And again, y'all, if you have any questions before we close up, feel free to ask your questions. It's the questions and answer thingy is up, and we are ready to interact. So if you have questions, feel free, ask. If you want to say something about sympathetic magic, go ahead and do that. And again, it's so easy. You just have to remember what we've already expressed in the connection. The connection and the psychic connection is super vital for it to work and for you to really fuel and get results. But you also have to start looking at things and seeing what they do. Like sponges obviously absorbs shit. It absorbs water or liquid, so that's something that is very interesting. If you have someone who's very emotional and you're just like, I don't want to fucking deal with your emotions, go get a sponge and be like, this sponge is gonna absorb that shit because I don't want to deal with it. You know, it's like simple shit like that. Like if you have a Pisces who is just going crazy, you can utilize a sponge to kind of like get some of that crazy off. Like make sure it's not like trickling over and like, oh no. It's
Watch
also,
it. It's our time. I'm just saying. It's
I
our time of
know,
year.
I know. So, and again, like an alcoholic, you can utilize like a sponge to help with addiction. So there's a lot of things, like simple things, very very simple that you can do. You just have to start seeing it through those eyes.
Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
If you got somebody in your life that really don't shower often, you know, put some soap on their motherfucking sympathetic asses and be like, take a goddamn shower, you pop it, wash that motherfucker. I'm just saying, it's that fucking simple. It's like it's sad how simple it is. It's like it's just simple. It's just, you know, sometimes we have a way of fucking shit up because we try to make it way more complicated.
Right. It's just changing your mindset and your thought process of how magic works.
We're gonna talk, more application in our members only video, which we'll do right after this. And we'll put a link in this description if you want to become a member. And we offer a lot to our members: training, personalized videos, so much. We'll do that. We'll put that in our description. But I will say this, and this just kind of came to me. If you are dealing with someone who's very earthy, very grounded, and stubborn, you can actually create a bath bomb, or just mix some like citric acid and baking soda together. You can add some Epsom salt if you want. You could add the color that is aligning with what you wish to achieve. Get a tub of water and form it if you want. You can even get like like one of those a mold in the shape of a person, or even just do it as like get a ball and do that shit. But you can program that and say, this is the person, and they are so stubborn, but as I put this in the water, their barrier, their stubbornness, whatever, that harsh energy, that very solid foundation that's not allowing their emotions to come through, will dissolve. And as you put that bath bomb or whatever you want to do in there, but you have to make sure it's like citric acid and baking soda so it fizzles. It fizzles and it dissolves, and you have that water where that individual just broke. Like, you just tore down. It doesn't have to be malediction. It can be very healing, especially because some people who need to process emotions, or they just need to like relax, that you can do that for that, that situation. And as it dissolves and fizzles out, you get that physical, application where this very solid thing is now fluid. It's becoming in alignment with emotion and in accordance with spirituality. And they might be more open to suggestion. They might be more open to feeling. And that's simple. That's like really, took me fucking forever to express it, but it's simple enough.
Super simple.
Super duper simple. But
You
yeah,
have that one person that's going to be like, how much citric acid do I use to baking soda? You upping yourself up for failure with people.
Research, darling.
You're just like,
Research, darling.
Pinterest is lovely.
You know what you could also do, and I should probably not, but you could stuff a poppet with citric acid and, baking soda. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
like, I like citric acid for poppets.
That is interesting. Okay. So since there are no questions being asked right now, we have to get to another appointment. So again, y'all, check out our page. We have a lot going on. We have a new individual who's helping out on the page. Her name's Zoe. Super fun. She has a lot of interesting stuff that she's bringing to the page. We also have a new. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so bad because I forgot her name. I can't say it. Anyway, she's a part of our website. She's writing blogs, and the blog post that she recently did is fucking awesome. So you definitely need to check that out. And I apologize because my... Is it Solaria? Solaria?
Solaria. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was Solaria.
I thought so, but I'm like, I'm gonna mess her name up. I'm so sorry, darling. But yes, super. Definitely check that out. And if you want us to speak on any topic, if you want to engage with us, please do so. And if you are willing, I would love to see a video response to this on Sympathetic Magic, on your first experiences or something that pops out, into your mind, what Sympathetic Magic is to you and how you connect, like what you feel when you cast that, and when you what's important and vital to Sympathetic Magic. If we didn't cover something that you feel is necessary that should have been covered, please do a video and share with us, because we love that. We love, love, love that.
Yes, we do. Post in the page or in the group so we see it and we know. Don't do one and not tell us.
Oh, I know. Yes, make us aware. Post that shit all over. So there's that. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, and I'm forgetting. And I apologize. Oh, you have to check out. I want to say this Wednesday we're gonna redo our tarot show. It's called Insights on Castings. For some reason, we were just not meant to talk about that subject. And what we're talking about is utilizing the cards for insight onto your witchcraft, into your witchcraft, before you cast a spell. And so you check in with your spell work with the cards and see if you need to alter anything, see if you need to lessen something. But yeah, we will be hopefully finishing that video this coming Wednesday. So be sure to check that out. And if you like what we have to say with your friends and tell us, we want to hear from you, and we want to interact with the community, and we want to make sure that you are benefiting from what we have to say, because we love talking and we love sharing, but we want to make sure that we are also being of service and expressing things that are important not just to us but to you. Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Bye.